This is from James Alcorn 341 again. He says, suffering for me has been a part of the journey. Without it, I wouldn't have had growth, as it was a catalyst for change and compelled me to look in new directions to find new meaning. For me, truth equates to both suffering and freedom. Suffering seems a double-edged sword. One side draws blood while the other side liberates, bitter and sweet from the same well, a bit of a paradox. It seems the elimination of suffering may close the gates to the land of milk and honey. James, do you see some degree of suffering as fundamental in the exploration of truth, as I am somewhat perplexed by what seem like contradictions? Okay, I'm going to try to answer this succinctly if I can. Suffering is where we find ourselves. That's where we start. We're lost. We're all in this place where when we start the spiritual journey, we're starting it because of suffering and because we want to be free of it. Suffering is a fact of existence. That's why the first noble truth of Buddhism is life is suffering, or to exist is to suffer. It really means that ego, that reification of self and desire and aversion that arises from that. That all of that is what he would call suffering. And it is. It is suffering. And that's where we find ourselves, duality and that struggle, being a lost, separate person in a cold, uncaring universe of all these objects. Yeah, that's suffering. So that's where we start. So is it a part of the journey? Yes, because that's where we start. That's where we find ourselves. You're saying you wouldn't have had growth without it. It's a catalyst for change. It compelled you to look in new directions, find new meaning. Yeah, overcoming suffering is what we're doing here. And it produces growth and awareness, personal growth, all of that. That doesn't mean that suffering by itself is a good, that by itself it's a good thing, or that we should seek out suffering. I've done this before, but I have a lighter here. If I held that lighter under my hand, lit it, and held it there, how long do you think it would take to pull my hand away? It makes no sense that I would just inflict suffering on myself for no reason. So, suffering by itself is not a good thing. The growth, the benefit is from overcoming it. And the way we overcome it is to see through it and to become more conscious, to wake up to reality, as I like to put it. That's where the benefit is. So the mistake is in thinking there's some nobility in suffering. There's nothing noble about that. How we meet it can be noble. Embodying that awareness that doesn't judge, experiencing what we might call pain or suffering, not complaining about it, having forbearance and patience and kindness through that, that's the value. So we grow as beings, overcoming the suffering that's unavoidable because that's where we find ourselves. So James says, it seems the elimination of suffering may close the gates to the land of milk and honey. No. I mean, I don't want you to think that. Pure consciousness without any suffering is brilliant. And that's our true nature. And it's been described as blissful. It's just complete, perfect. It's real, it is the real of us. So it doesn't require suffering to be that. It would be kind of like saying, there's waves on the ocean. It's like the drama in our lives are like waves. It could be stormy waves, any kind of waves. But those waves can't exist without the ocean. But the ocean can exist without waves. It could be utterly calm and still. So we could be utterly peaceful within ourselves as that primordial awareness and be completely happy. Or we could be meeting these waves in our lives, these turbulent moments and forms of suffering that may arise, and experience a certain joy in overcoming those and growing as a result. That's the beauty of it. But it's a mistake to think that we require suffering to do that. I would say you don't have to seek suffering out, there's plenty of it. The Buddha saw three sights, and that's what motivated his journey. It was sickness, old age, and death. And then he saw the fourth sight was a wandering sadhu who was trying to overcome it. So that's what motivated his journey, was suffering and the potential for the release of suffering. There's plenty of that. You can't get away from those. Sickness, aging, death. It's an acronym. It spells sad. It's just kind of how it is. I found another one the other day. If you call it old age, disease, and death, it spells odd. That is odd. I think that's odd. Yeah, old age, disease, death. There's plenty of stuff you got to worry about, paying bills, taxes, wars going on. There's plenty of that. So I would say you don't have to seek it out. It's how you meet it that matters. So as far as the land of milk and honey, just be that. You are that, you see. Whatever is symbolized by that phrase, the land of milk and honey, that's just your own being. So just be that, and it will meet whatever suffering arises. And if it doesn't arise, you'll be just as thrilled to be doing that. So I would say suffering is not a good, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to seek it out. Is some degree of suffering fundamental in the exploration of truth? Yeah. Again, we find ourselves suffering and we overcome it. So in that way, it's fundamental. But it would be like saying, is encountering an illusion fundamental to establishing awareness of truth and reality? It depends. If you're faced with the illusion and you're suffering from it, then yeah, in a way it's fundamental, but it's just an appearance. It's just like a mirage. It's not real, but your experience of it causes suffering. And overcoming that, again, establishing the awareness that I am, that awareness, it vaporizes all that illusion and suffering and all of it. I think I've answered your question. Suffering by itself is not a good. It's the overcoming of it that's good. It's our true nature that's good, fundamentally. One question could be, before you wake up, you could see one's own suffering as a stimulus or a goad, if you will, to provoke the necessity of overcoming it. So it provides a certain impetus to the wish or the will to awaken, to study these teachings and to practice, to embody that. That is how that works. We start with suffering, then we overcome it. When we wake up, it's as if we see through the suffering and we stop generating new suffering. So that reification of our experience, that ego is really what that is. It's making a self. In Sanskrit, it's called ahamkara, which just means, it means literally I maker. We don't make an I out of it. We don't label body, mind, emotions, experience, objects with some kind of independent identity, because the identity of all that we experience is simply that absolute truth that we are and that is. And it's not exclusive to us as a person, it's universal. It is everyone, everything, everywhere. There's just this one truth that's real, appearing as all of these things. So part of your question could be, once you wake up, does that mean you stop growing? No. Part of it is, once you wake up, it's so valuable what you've, in a sense, found, this reality that you've awakened to, that you intuitively want to share it. I call that compassion, because it's everywhere. See, it's in every being that you encounter. So it naturally flows into it. There's no thought in it, it has its own movement. It's an awareness of suffering coupled with the willingness to help relieve the suffering. So there's plenty of suffering all around. The world is kind of made of it, it's everywhere. So if you want to grow, once you wake up, maybe you've transcended your own suffering, but what about your neighbor? Your neighbor might be suffering. Well, there you go. You could grow in your ability to do that. You could just grow in your ability to be a better person. Over the years, I've deepened this understanding that the realization isn't complete until those values of decency and morality or ethics or treating people well, things that involve compassion, love, patience, just being decent. The realization's not complete until you've completed that. There's really no end to it, though. It's work that just keeps going. So I try to be a better husband, for example. I'm constantly learning how to do that. Because the body changes, the mind changes with age, for example, or conditions change, constant room for growth and improvement, constantly learning. It's just that reification of self isn't there anymore. So it's less an existential problem and more just a movement of love. And again, there's no attachment to it. There's just this witnessing of unity and the relative emotions that may occur if there's loss, like grief. That's natural. But at the core of it, or in the midst of it, is this I am that is untouched by it. And that's the beauty of it. Then we share it, and other people wake up to it. And that's tremendous. It spreads, it grows, and the world becomes a better place, basically. Again, thanks for your comments, questions. We'll do it again. Thanks.